So what's up everybody, it's your girl back for another video. So in this video, I wanted to talk about infant male circumcision in the United States. This is a topic that's extremely controversial, and seems like every time I'm discussing it with someone, I'm outnumbered in my opinion. My opinion overall is that it's barbaric, it's senseless, and it's mutilation of male genitals for no reason other than monetary gain for the medical system, and any other reason is typically shallow concerns. I've heard everything from, you don't want to have to clean his genitals all day long. You're going to have to keep up with keeping it clean when you're a mother. That was one of the most ridiculous things I've heard, and I've heard that one a lot, by the way. That is a mother's job. You take care of your children and you do everything for your children, and if you're not woman enough to do that, then you don't need to be having children. Simple as that. But another thing is, I'll hear things like, well, you want them to fit in with other little boys in school, in the locker room. You don't want them to be different. You don't want him to feel ashamed or embarrassed by his natural genitals. It's just absurd that people think this way. These are newborn, defenseless, innocent baby boys we're talking about, 1, 2, 3 days old, taken from the warmth of their mother's womb into a cold room, put on a wooden board, strapped down, face up, held down, wide awake, scared, cold, with a bunch of strangers surrounding them, and then they rip the diaper open, insert a tool that stretches out the foreskin, and they crush it and tear it off. The baby is awake, screaming, crying, and the pain doesn't stop there. The baby has to urinate, and every time they urinate, they feel that burning sensation while this area heals. And I always thought it was so cold, cruel, and barbaric that we did this to little boys. And it really hit me when I became pregnant for my son. Finding out I was having a son was one of the best days of my life. I was ecstatic. And I had this sense of fear come over me because I knew that I was going to have a battle ahead of me, not wanting to circumcise. And I did. I fought. Every time I went to a prenatal appointment, I kid you not, one of the doctors and nurses would ask me, are you going to circumcise the baby when he's born? And I would say, probably not. I don't want to. No. And I would have to explain myself, and they would try to almost not just pressure me, but almost bully me into agreeing. And, if you're a person that's not able to stand up to tough pressure, you will probably succumb to it. And luckily I didn't, because that's just not my personality. When I believe in something, I'm going to stand up. I don't care if I'm the last man standing on the issue. I'm going to stand up and, fight for what I believe in. And I would constantly have to go to battle with these people. And then I've had, female relatives that are mothers tell me, you're not going to circumcise? Oh my God, he's going to feel like a freak in the locker room. You don't want him to, feel bad about himself. Don't you want him to feel and look like every other boy? So I'm supposed to risk my son's life so he can look like other little boys that had their genitals mutilated? What's wrong with the way he naturally looks? I don't understand that. We don't mutilate the genitals of little girls. In other cultures they do. They make the genitals look more attractive or for religious reasons, but we don't do that to little girls in the United States. And honestly, I don't think that would have been tolerated. I think that feminists would have been crying that it's sexist and misogynistic to want to mutilate female genitals to make them appear more attractive. I don't understand why this is allowed. It would be one thing if we did it to little girls too, but we don't. We don't do it to little girls. How come little boys can't grow up and have circumcision done on their own terms as an adult? I think men should be able to make their own decisions on that. I don't think their mother should be making that decision for them. We're not men. We don't know how it feels. We know how it feels to give birth. And the pain that I experienced having natural birth is, I had a natural birth for my son. And I'm telling you now, I would never want my infant baby boy to experience pain like that. And it would be similar because you're mutilating his genitals. You're, ripping a piece of his genitals off. So, but I can, equate that to the pain that I experienced when I gave birth. It's painful, and I just can't imagine putting a newborn baby through something like that. When women get older, they can make the decision. A lot of women nowadays, my age, have breast implants, tummy tuck. The Brazilian butt lift is extremely popular right now. Chin implants, lip implants, Botox. I can go on, and even genitalia surgery women are having now. So why can't men grow up and make the decision to have circumcision done later on in life? It'll be no different than any other plastic surgery. I just think it's cold and cruel. I mean, to anyone who thinks that this baby is not going to feel any pain, I challenge you to watch a circumcision video. And you will hear an infant baby boy screaming at the top of his lungs. It's awful. I've watched several circumcision videos, and I cry like a baby watching it. I break down. I can't handle it. It's so sad to me. And I was against circumcision for my son, but at the end of the day, I felt like the decision to circumcise him fell in my husband's hands. That is the father. He is a man. I felt like, my son is a little boy. I felt like that was my husband, his father's decision to make. So I stayed out of that one. I expressed my concerns. We sat down, we talked about it. My husband agrees that it is risky and it can be dangerous, and he agrees that, it's completely senseless. There's really no reason to do it. And he was circumcised. His mother made the decision to circumcise him, and that's where the only point, the only reason anyway that he would want to circumcise our son, he said, is because he was circumcised. And I asked him, I said, are you willing to, live with if something happens to our son, or, he has any issues from this, just because your mother made the decision to circumcise you. And, he thought about it, but again, at the end of the day, it was his decision to make. So, but I'm still against it. It's something that is very touchy for me, but throughout my entire pregnancy with my son, I fought tooth and nail. I gave my opinion to anyone who asked about circumcision, and I, talked about the risks. A lot of women are just straight up not educated about. They think the baby doesn't go back there and suffer. Maybe they think the baby's put to sleep, or, they have it in their mind that it's very, gentle and delicate, and the baby's sleeping, and no, nothing like that. Yeah, it's just another day at the office for those doctors. It's like an assembly line. Next. And they pull the foreskin off. Cha-ching, make a little money. Next. And they do it again. Cha-ching, next. I mean, it's crazy. So I just challenge anyone. Just please educate yourself on this and watch videos on it. Understand what really happens. And then you can make a decision after. But I'm curious to know, before I go, for any fathers out there or any young men, what do you feel about circumcision? What are your honest feelings on it? Do you think that it was wrong that, little boys are circumcised when they're babies and they're not allowed to make the decision on their own? Would you want to be able to make that decision for yourself later on in life? I want to know what men, the majority, feel, because if they really, don't agree with this, if this is something men don't want, then I'm going to do everything I can to educate people on that and let, other mothers know that men do not want to be circumcised. I'm going to do everything I can. And, other people watching this video can read the comments and, do anything they can. And hopefully, we can honor the decisions that, you know, men make, because ultimately they're the ones that should be making this decision. So like the video if you did, subscribe if you want to hear more, and I'll see y'all later.